Let's talk to Martin O'Neill, the former Leicester City manager, about the impending appointment of Ruud van Nistelrooy to the position of Leicester head coach. He joins us now. Good morning to you, Martin. Thanks for coming on.
Hello. How are you, Sam?
Yes, good, thank you. What do you make of the appointment of Ruud van Nistelrooy as the boss of Leicester City, a club that's very dear to your heart?
Well, I suppose why not, really? He's had some experience now. He's been head coach for a while, and in that little period of winning a couple of games at Manchester United, I suppose it made him, I suppose, I was nearly going to say right for the job. Who is ever right for a job? But at least it put him back into the limelight again.
What did you make of the decision to remove Steve Cooper after just 12 games? Did that smack of a bad choice in the first place, or a bad fit in the first place?
Well, as Simon knows, if I continually moan about my 19 games at Nottingham Forest, then what shall I say about somebody who gets 12 games? I think that's the answers there.
It's not exactly enough time to make an impression, is it?
It's absolutely not. It's incredible, really incredible. Well, nothing's incredible in the game of football today, but that is extraordinary. 12 games gone, 10 points, a couple of teams behind them as well too. So it seemed pretty strange to me.
In terms of Ruud van Nistelrooy, obviously he has had a little bit in the shop window because he was at Manchester United and looked pretty adept at handling all the aspects of the business, being able to look after the players, but also looking after the media side of it as well and getting on with the fans. Do Leicester need a figure that they can sort of attach themselves to? Because over the last few years, it's been quite interesting, hasn't it? That Enzo Maresca, who was the manager there for one season, they didn't particularly take to him as a sort of a figure that they really fell in love with. They fell out of love with Brendan Rodgers, despite the fact that he won the FA Cup for the first time. And obviously the Steve Cooper experiment didn't work for them either. Are they in need now of a figurehead that the fans can buy into?
Right. It's a very, very good point you make. But I suppose since 2016, things have changed at the King Power Stadium. You know, that you are talking about a side that has won the Premier League. And I suppose then there is I suppose it, and I shouldn't really say this about my former club, where I really loved my time there after a stodgy start. But there's maybe a sense of entitlement, that really after winning the league in 2016, then, life should be actually very, very good for them. They've experienced relegation in that time. Maresca was there to get them back up again, which he did in the first season. Then he goes off to Chelsea, and I suppose they're left then. Steve Cooper, maybe Steve's allegiance or time at Nottingham Forest. I think I'd probably push that to the side initially. A little bit like myself as a player at Nottingham Forest and coming to Leicester, I think there was a little bit of dissatisfaction. Obviously, a lot more dissatisfaction with me when I couldn't win a game to save my life early on. But overall, listen, Van Nistelrooy's got the name. He's got a big, big name. Great player. And and I suppose why not? If you're going for someone now, again, as I said to you, he pushed himself right into the limelight there a couple of weeks ago. And I suppose Leicester City have decided to go with it.
Martin, just out of curiosity, there's a lot of background noise about the Leicester situation in terms of players and their opinion and the ear of the owner that they appear to have. Now, if you were a manager, if you were going back into management and you were privy to the fact that the ownership model seems to have relationships with players and a culture where players seem to have a bit more influence with senior management, i.e. the owner, than possibly they should have, what do you think of that kind of culture? Because that seems to be the culture that Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to be walking into.
Well, again, Simon, I think from working with me a few times, then it's all right, very, very much for me to be brave when I'm outside the game. But I must admit, I wouldn't take that. I really would not take that. And it would be one of the things, if Van Nistelrooy feels that this year is a point that he has to reckon with, I think he has got to have a meeting and say, listen, lads, you come through me now. If there's any discontentment, it'll be because you're not on the side. no one's going to help you. You're not going to have an agent coming overriding situations.
Would it put you off in the first place, Martin? If that background noise was something that you were hearing prior to going to meeting the owner, would it put you off that sort of environment in the first place?
No, it wouldn't, Simon. It wouldn't put me off. I would think that I could rectify it. That's the point. And I think this is not at all.
By establishing it with the owner from the outset, which is...
Absolutely right. In other words, if you want me for the job, you think I'm good enough to do this job, then please allow me to manage the football club in the manner in which I'm doing. If I don't get the results, I know the end product of that. But at the end of it all, please allow me to manage. And if that means you're a dissociation now with the players, they're not going to come to you anymore. Absolutely, I'm going to establish that from now. If the owner doesn't want that, that's a different issue.
How would you have dealt with the scenes after the Christmas party at the weekend? The video that emerged of the players sort of celebrating. They'd lost to Chelsea on the Saturday. It wasn't a very good performance at all, and ended up going out partying in Copenhagen. It was a Christmas party. Everyone has them, but it wasn't a good look. What would you have said and done in the beforehand and then afterwards?
Do you know what? I suppose I don't know the exact situation there, but I'll tell you something. I probably, if I'd been beaten by, let's just say that I'd been well and truly beaten in this game, even though it was against Chelsea, I think I'd maybe say to you, listen, maybe even cancel the party if that's the case. You'd be aware that this party is going to take place. Absolutely go with it, but with my blessing then if you've won the game or you've been really at it throughout the match. But honestly, I've cancelled Christmas parties in the past, and not just necessarily just for the public's sake of cancelling. This would be more a private issue. I've done that in the past, so I wouldn't be averse to doing it again.
Listen, thank you very much for coming on, Martin. Appreciate it. Great to speak to you as always, and hopefully we'll see you soon. That's the former Celtic, Leicester City, Nottingham Forest, Republic of Ireland manager Martin O'Neill giving us his view on Ruud van Nistelrooy's appointment as the manager of Leicester City. Interesting, isn't it, when he was talking there about the fact that when he first joined Leicester from Wycombe, but he was previously a Nottingham Forest player. Similar circumstance, I suppose, in a sense to Steve Cooper. He got off to a bad start. If he hadn't got over that hump, the Leicester City history would be very, very different indeed if they hadn't have embraced him and kept him on. Well, good fortune for them that he did, wasn't it? Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.